All right, today I'm going to demonstrate a couple of hip exercises, which are important to do for those of you who like to run or like to do other resistance training through your legs. Strengthening the hip muscles is important because you put a lot of load and forces through your body when you do things like running. So you want to make sure those loads are appropriately accepted by the muscles in your hips and that they're not distributed in an improper way through your knees and hips in a way that would cause you pain and inevitably stop you from exercising. So I have this band with me that you don't have to use, but if you do have it, it is helpful for making the exercise a little bit harder, and it also helps you to remember to engage the appropriate muscles. So for the first one, you can start by putting the band around your knees. And each exercise I'll show you from a front view and from a side view so that you can see the angles of the joints from a couple of different perspectives. So the first exercise we're going to do is a squat, so you can put your feet a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. And some things to remember while doing the exercise. You want to keep a flat back, or if anything, a little bit extended, but you just don't want your back to arch like this, just for protective purposes. We also want to engage the core, which just means squeeze your ab muscles. So try to squeeze your belly button into your spine. And so try to remember to keep breathing while doing this, which can be a little bit difficult, but it's important to try to engage the core to protect the back while also remembering to breathe. And since we're trying to focus the exercise on the hip muscles and not the knee muscles, you want to shift your weight back onto your heels and try to keep your knees behind your toes, because in this instance, like I said, we want to keep the forces going through the hips. If we wanted the emphasis of the exercise to be on the knee muscles, you can put your knees in front of your toes, and it's a normal function to do that, like going upstairs and downstairs to keep your knees in front of your toes. But for this exercise, we're going to keep them behind. And so we just want to go up and down like this, remembering to engage the hip muscles and keep the knees straight. You don't want them to come in like this because then you're not engaging the right muscles. You want them to stay out just like this. And I'll show you what it looks like from the side. For the second exercise, we're going to get into a similar squat position, and then we're going to sidestep from left to right. So this is working the similar muscles of the hips, and just from a squatted position. And so the same thing, same mechanics apply. You don't want the knees to come in like this. You want to make sure the hips are engaged and the knees stay straight, or if anything, a little bit out to make sure the muscles are working. You want to sidestep like this, keeping the weight back onto the heels. And remembering to breathe, keep a flat back, and engage the core. And from the side, all right, and for the third exercise, you can move the band down to your ankles. For this one, you're going to stand on one foot, and with the other leg, you're going to flex the hip forward and extend the hip back. And when you flex the hip forward, you're going to be squeezing and engaging the glute muscle on the left side. And when you kick the leg back, when you extend it back, you're going to be engaging and squeezing the glute muscle on the right side. And so what you want to do is stand and move the leg in a slow and controlled manner, squeezing a little bit as you get to end range. What I mean by that is you get here, make sure to squeeze that glute muscle on the left side. You extend back, squeeze that glute muscle on the right side. So you just go forward and back like this. And I'll show you from the side as well. The last exercise we're going to do, you don't need the band for, so you can toss it to the side. You just need a step or a stair or some sort of elevated surface that you can step down from. So what you're going to do is step with one foot on the step, and then you're going to bend your knee and your hip to lower your other foot down to the ground. You can either tap the ground with your toe or your heel. The heel is a little bit harder because you have to bend down a little bit further. And something to keep in mind with this exercise is you want your pelvis to go down evenly. You don't want the right side to dip down. So you don't want to do this because then you're not really bending the left hip and you're not really using the muscles right. So you want to make sure the pelvis goes down nice and evenly and the weight is shifted back onto your heels like I mentioned before. And you also don't want your body to flex too far forward. You want to just keep a nice neutral spine and stand up straight. I'll show you what it looks like on the other side as well. And those are your 4 exercises. You can do each one for 2 to 3 sets. You can do sets of anywhere between 8 and 12, depending on how conditioned you are. And in between each set, you can take about a minute rest. And like I said, do 2 to 3 rounds. And these exercises should have a nice protective effect for your joints and make sure that you can either run or do whatever kind of exercises you'd like to do without joint pain.